There is a myth that we all have inherited, that to be fearless, we need to be tough, that softness is weakness, that strength means pushing, performing, achieving. As women, we have learned fearlessness that disconnects us from our true nature. We have been brave, but we also have been burned out. And maybe we're ready to rewrite what fearless looks like. Because softness, real softness, it's really powerful. It's intuitive, and it can carry us through the most courageous moments of our lives. Most of my life, I've been fearless in the most traditional sense. I've been independent from a very early age. Back in communist Bulgaria, I started working extremely early, and I always thought this is an amazing thing to do, to be independent. I traveled so many countries. I left home very early, and at age 27, I moved to New York City, and I started hustling more than ever in my life just to make it. And as an immigrant single parent in one of the most expensive cities in the world, I had to be fearless and I had to be on survival mode all the time. I built a career in a masculine world, TV production, a career that I'm extremely proud of. And I wouldn't have done it if I was not probably in my masculine most of the times. And that eventually led to a burnout. Not only a burnout, but anxieties and panic attacks. What I started asking myself over time was this: what if being fearless really means trusting and not forcing? Which actually for me was the hardest. For me, it was easy to just push and muscle through and prove myself and go. The hardest thing for me was to learn how to trust, to sit and trust, because sitting for me was so uncomfortable. Because sitting, for many of us that are high performing independent women from early on, sitting means being lazy. Things are not supposed to come easy. They're supposed to come hard. We have to work for them. Love, money, success. But I've come to find out that this is the opposite of the truth. Because after my last panic attack 13 years ago, I started changing my life completely, my way of thinking, my way of showing up, and my way of being. And as women, we've been conditioned to equate courage with effort. Keep going, be strong, stop crying, get it done. But that version of being fearless comes from a nervous system that is stuck in overdrive. Sounds familiar? How many of you have been in overdrive for years, praying just for a moment to pause, to rest, for someone to come along so you can lean on, someone to tell you, don't worry, I got this. Because our version of being fearless comes from a nervous system that was constantly on survival mode and overdrive. Life constantly throws things at us, and our nervous system doesn't get a break or a pause. We're constantly on survival mode, fight, flight, or freeze. But here's the truth. When we're operating from fear, even our boldest choices can feel like contraction and can feel like they're not true to who we are. That's not flow, that's reaction. Studies from the Center of Compassion at Stanford University shows that self-compassion activates the brain's courage circuitry, allowing us to make brave decisions without self-attack. And polyvagal theory teaches us that nervous system safety is the foundation for intuition, creativity, and aligned action, hallmarks of the divine feminine. Here's the thing: fear blocks flow, and trust opens it. But it's so hard to trust. When we're gripped by fear, we're so tense. We try to control outcomes. We second guess our worth. We rely on external circumstances and people to dictate how we feel about ourselves, because we don't get a moment to pause and look inside and fall in love with ourselves. One of the hardest things I found years ago, I took a course, was to peel these layers of the onion and look inside, because my biggest fear was that what I will find inside, I'm not going to like it. And guess what? I decided to be brave and trust the process. I went inside, and guess what? It was so difficult. I was crying, I was ready to give up, I was stumbling, but I said, no, I'm going all in this time. And what I found out is that the person inside is this kind, genuine, generous, loving, empathetic person that I'm so in love with. And now I don't second guess my worth. I know my worth. I accepted all my flaws because there are a lot of those. Like many of us, I accepted all my shadows. I worked through all that. I went to this internal journey and I'm in love with who I am. We have to constantly remind ourselves that we don't have to force, we only have to allow it. And that comes with trust. And that is the bravest thing in the world. Here's something to help you for a nervous system reset when you're in a time that you need to make a big decision. In order for us to do that and not be impulsive, the feminine way of making decisions is intuition and also to listen to our rational brain. But we need to get in touch with our intuition. And to do that, our nervous system cannot be on overdrive. We need to pause and regulate first. Here's how you do it. Sit down, feet on the floor, close your eyes. Place one hand on your heart and one on your womb. Inhale through your nose for 4, hold for 4, and exhale through your mouth for 6. Whisper to yourself, it's safe for me to choose with softness. I trust what I feel. It's safe for me to choose with softness. I trust what I feel. Do that for 3 minutes and see what comes up for you. Here's what feminine fearlessness actually looks like. Saying no without explaining yourself. Crying and still trusting our next step. Put boundaries without over-explaining yourself, but confidently, quietly walking away with your heart full of love. Resting, that is fearless, because many of us have been conditioned to go and hustle, and we feel guilty when we rest. Certainly, I did. It's choosing alignment over urgency, peace over performance, inner knowing over external pressure. I'm a person who makes decisions from intuition. A lot of times in my life, back in the day, I was very impulsive in making decisions. Rational brain, I think I didn't get that memo. It was not very developed, I think. But I'm Sagittarius. I first jump and then I ask, how do you open a parachute? And even do I have one? So I do not regret any of my decisions in my life, but I've been through hell and back because of that decision-making process. Now I've learned to sit quietly with my intuition, listen to it, and also listen to my rational brain. I have a friend who caught me on that. I was in a relationship and my intuition kept telling me, no, that's not your person. And I kept ignoring it. And I was just trying to convince myself. And my friend, who knows me for so many years, she said, I always admired you that your intuition is spot on, always. But then you start questioning it. I didn't even realize I was doing that. And I think it's because I equated intuition with impulsiveness. But now I know I'm not impulsive. I'm a grounded person. I make good decisions. I made the right decisions for me. I fail so many times, but I don't believe they're failures. I don't believe they're mistakes in life. I believe that we are exactly where we need to be. We get exactly what we need at the exact time that we need it, and everything works in our favor ultimately. That is what I believe in my life. I've always believed that. And that's why I'm not scared to make decisions. I'm a person who cannot be in indecision mode. I think it will drive me crazy to be in indecision mode. I have to make a decision. But now I started to soften down. I've been operating for so many years from my masculine energy. And it took me many years to come back to my feminine energy after being a single mother when I'm so used to doing everything alone and I have to be on survival mode and I had to be on overdrive. It was very difficult to rewrite this nervous system, to soften down and to come back to my feminine self and to balance the masculine with the feminine energy because we absolutely need both. So, here are a few journaling prompts that will help you. Where in my life am I being brave, but from a place of fear or control? What does soft fearlessness looks like for me this week? What would happen if I trusted that what's meant for me doesn't need to be chased? Here are a few mantras that you might want to try. I'm soft and unshakable. I lead with trust, not tension. I choose clarity, not control. And I'm safe to move forward in my feminine power. So, yes, we can be soft and fearless. We can rest and still rise. We can trust instead of tense. We can move from peace and not pressure. That's the feminine flow. That's our glow. And that's the kind of power that the world needs more of. If this message resonated with you, I would love to hear your comments down below. And always remember, the most important relationship is the one we have with ourselves. I'll see you next time. Ciao.